team, welcome to part 3, which is called how to make any skill WOD-proof, because we all know that just because you've learned how to do your bar muscle up does not mean that you can automatically put it into a workout. So this is going to run through exactly how we bridge that gap between having the movement and then being confident in a workout setting. So let me guess, this is where you're at now with some of your skills. You've learned how to do a movement. You can hit it when you're fresh and you're relaxed and you've warmed up into it properly, and maybe you can even do a decent amount of volume. But as soon as we add a barbell or a bit of fatigue, or we put the clock on and you're in a workout situation, the skill poof just disappears. And this is frustrating, but it's okay. It's just another stage in the skill progression that we need to develop that often gets forgotten about. Once someone can do something for the first time, they mistakenly assume that that work is now over, whereas there's a lot of still to do. So the first video in this mini series, we spoke about how you get that first rep, and also I've got lots of videos on how to get each particular skill, which you can go and check out as well. Then we've learned how to build volume. So once you can do 1 rep of the movement, how do you turn that into 10? And then this video is going to tell you, now you've got 10, how can you put it into a workout and still be confident that you can do 10? So these are the levels in the development. The good thing is if you've got to this stage, you're nearly there. So at the start, in that first video, we were talking about motor control, skills and drills, how you acquire the movement and intrinsically learn it for the first time. Then how we solidify the neural pathways and develop volume. And now we're talking about that top layer about how do we get comp ready. And really we want to make the skill aerobic. So we want the movement to be something that we can just do, like getting on the C2 bike, like doing a wall ball, like doing a burpee, something that is confident in lots of different settings. So we need to put it into different settings and make sure that your body can do that. So there are 3 levels that I run through with my athletes in order to get to the point where we can put it in a workout. If you skip straight to this stage, which is what most people do, then you're going to end up struggling. We can actually build to a point where you can be confident when it goes into a workout, you can do it, but there are 2 prerequisites that I go through. So the first one is simply adding heart rate. And when we add heart rate to the movement, it's important to do it from a way that is using a different set of muscles to what the movement is. So this first example here, I'm using toaster bar. And the movement I'm pairing it with to raise the heart rate is a C2 bike. So there's not a huge amount of crossover between a C2 and a toaster bar. So I'm getting the heart rate up by making the athlete do 500 meters. Then, because this would be quite fresh, we'll have a little rest just to, think about what's happening. Do your toaster bar, hit those, have a little rest, go again. And this can be progressed in so many ways. You can make the toaster bar reps bigger, you can take out these rest periods, but essentially you're practicing doing the movement at volume with a high heart rate. Different example here, I've used a handstand push-up. So this is a strict handstand push-up, and the movement we've paired it with is a run. Again, there's not a huge amount of crossover between those movements, so they're a good thing to put together. It's important when you first take that step away from having a movement isolated to trying to get it to a workout, that you build heart rate first, but not in a way that's going to stress the same muscle groups, because we need you to develop chronologically. And the first step is just getting the heart pumping. Once you've done that, the next step, as you can probably guess, is to then start pairing it with with movements that use similar muscle groups. So again, with this stage, we're not trying to create a WOD. These 2 examples I've put on the screen are not something you would typically see in a workout, because we haven't got to the workout yet. We're still very much training the movement, and we're training the movement by pairing it with things that are similar stresses and seeing if you can still perform it. So this first example, we're looking at handstand push-ups. One massive driver of handstand push-ups is scapular control, and we can fatigue your scapulars by doing front rack carries with kettlebells and farmer carries with kettlebells. So by pairing a strict handstand push-up or a kipping handstand push-up with these 2 movements and then expecting you to be able to perform them again, or training you to perform them again, we are using a similar set of muscles to do both. And there's so many different things you could do here. You could pair it with a Z press or a strict press or a wall ball, anything that uses this similar pattern. Another example, this is pretty tough, is to do a toaster bar with a V-sit. It's pretty much the same movement. One is fairly low skill, so you V-sit, and then you've got your toaster bar, which is a higher skill movement. If you can train your body to be able to pair these things together or these things together, and there's obviously a million different examples of how you can do this, I would be pretty confident that when you put it in a workout, you're pretty adept at getting there. When you get to this workout setting, there's no real structure. It's almost like the more random, the better, because as we know, in a CrossFit and in a workout setting, any movements can be paired together. You can have barbells with gymnastics, with running, with ergs. Sometimes the movements are all very similar. Sometimes they're completely different. So this is just presenting yourself with situations where you're asked to do the movement you're working on in lots of different scenarios. So this example here, we've got run, kettlebell swings, and chest to bar. This example, we've got double unders, bar muscle ups, and cleans. And like I said, when you get to this point, it really is a pick and mix and just seeing what can your body cope with. And there'll probably be a scenario where you find, okay, I actually find it really difficult to pair these two movements together, or I find it really difficult to pair an erg with this movement. And when you identify which particular pairings or categories that you find hard to pair together, then you can move back a stage and start working on them in one of these settings and get yourself to a point where they're good. So start with heart rate, then do things that are similar muscle groups, then just pick random scenarios and identify if there are any difficulties, then you can go back and train them. All right, this is a common mistake. People, and I've fallen to this as well, thinking that if you can hit a movement in a really intense situation, maybe in like the CrossFit Open, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to hit my muscle up in there, and it's a really intense kind of full scenario, that you're going to get confidence, and that's what's going to take you to get that movement, where that is not the case at all. In order for you to build confidence, we want to put yourself in controlled, predictable situations where you can practice in a low state of stress, and you can concentrate and actually learn the movement properly before we start adding the intensity. Often, our mindset is the most important thing in these types of situations, and learning to be calm in a workout and come into a movement methodically and stay relaxed is actually going to be your biggest predictor of success. And that's why we need to train the movement in different scenarios before we can expect you to perform it in a comp style setting. Alrighty team, that's pretty much it for this video, but just to remind you that I have got a series of YouTubes out which all focus on different skills and tell you exactly how you would learn each particular one. And then if you follow on with this mini series, it will tell you how you build volume. And then obviously this video was how we put everything together in a comp style setting. As always team, my inbox on Instagram is open. If you want to talk to me about anything at all, or you have any questions related to this video, just pop up to me. My handle is coach_Briscoe, and we can have a chat.